son. That's you.
No, this ain't Raymond.
We are live, and you are not. No, that's not true. You could be live.
Thank you, Chevy Chase.
Yes. What's up, guys? You're watching RPadTV. I am Raymond. With me today is the excellent Paul Semel. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm
you're
good.
hanging
How
loose.
are you? I'm hanging loose. Yep. Even though I've never been on a surfboard and haven't been on the beach in 20 years, or
Maybe
any of
you're
that
hanging tough like the new kids.
let's not go there.
They're. I found out that they are going to be doing a Vegas residency in later this year.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I'm sure a lot of middle-aged women will be at that show, drooling over which one. I always get them and NSYNC confused, like the members of all of them.
I just know that Justin Timberlake and Joey Fatone are in sync.
And the astronaut, right? Lance Bass.
Yeah, astronaut Lance Bass. And then New Kids on the Block, I just remember because the one who was the tough one almost ran me over one night outside Amoeba.
There's a tough one? I did not.
Well, no, he wasn't. He was supposed to be like, they all have like personalities, like, ever since like ever since like the Beatles were like, oh, this is the quiet one, this is the whatever. Like,
yes.
Yeah, he was supposed to be like the tough one, but I mean, I'm sure you could beat the crap out of me, but then again, I'm like 57 and haven't been in a fist fight since the 70s, so that's not saying a lot.
So we had the Facebook glitch again, but I think I fixed it. So it looks like we are live on Facebook now.
Oh, good.
So let's start again. This is Paul. I'm Raymond. You're watching RPadTV, where we were talking about New Kids on the Block while I was fixing a Facebook glitch. So Paul, and we are joined by Mac Marshall. What's up, Mac?
Hi, sorry I'm late again, but I'm here.
Yes, no worries.
Sorry about bacon in the background.
No worries.
Is it cold in your house, or are you just
Our
having a
house
bad
is
hair
always
day?
freezing to me. This is part of like me approaching 50. It's like I'm always cold now. and this is like the office is the coldest room in the house 24/7. So yeah, I'll be caught sitting in here with like a jacket on, like a parka, and like, my kids are my youngest kid who's 15 is just like, what's wrong with dad?
He's having the hot flashes. Oh wait, no, the other gender. So Paul, Mac, and I are going to talk about the 3 TV shows we're looking forward to most in 2025. Last year was absolutely stacked for television, and this year might be even better. I mean, it's only January, and there's already some awesome shows that have started, like Severance, Harley Quinn, Mythic Quest started last night. Paul, you're watching that Spider-Man animated series.
Yeah, that was really good.
So much more to come. But before we get to that, let's get some updates on you guys. Paul, what's going on the excellent paulsemel.com?
Lots of good stuff. Earlier this week, I put up my review of Sniper Elite Resistance.
Oh,
which, for people who haven't played any of those games, they're basically third-person stealth action shooters set during World War II. Here you see me shooting a Nazi.
Yes.
I don't know why that's fun, but some people seem to enjoy killing Nazis. I
found myself watching a lot more movies and shows that have Nazis getting their asses handed. And games too now with images. Right. It just feels good in the moment.
Yeah.
Well, I actually looked it up, and people have been making games in which you kill Nazis since 1981, which is when the first Castle Wolfenstein came out.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think I worked on a Wolfenstein game at Activision.
Definitely.
Yeah, probably. But like somebody once said that like the sort of the best enemies in video games are Nazis, aliens, and vampires.
Yeah, because they're definitive bad guys.
Yeah.
I thought vampires would be up there too.
I don't know. Vampires can be fun. That's the thing, right? Like, Remember that vampire? There's a new one coming, by the way, too. But the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines game.
Oh, right. Yeah, those were really good too.
Yeah.
So what did you think of this game, Paul? Did you have fun?
Well, here's the thing. If you've ever
like
if you played
from like GoldenEye.
It definitely, yeah. Well, with that, that's a sniped pistol, and I'm hiding in tall grass, so that's very GoldenEye. I mean, this is the thing that I said in my review. It's basically the same game as Sniper Elite 5, except that you're playing as a different sniper and you're going to like different places, but otherwise it's really the same game, which normally would be kind of a problem, except it's still a really fun game. And you get to play these like really fun games of cat and mouse with like Nazis, and like you're sneaking around and then you come up behind them and shoot them in the back of the head, or like, you snipe guys from like, 50, 60, 70, 100 yards out. I mean, like I mean, again, it's the same game, but it's just really but it's a good game and it's a fun game. So yeah. So it's already on my list of best games of the year.
Nice.
Which of course won't come out till the end of the year, but
right.
I start it now.
So it's a game.
I don't do like the 10 best games of the year. I literally just put these are
however
the games
many are between the best.
Yeah.
So if you like Tom and Jerry and you like killing Nazis, check out Sniper Elite 2 or 1 or whatever. Resistance.
Yeah.
What do you got going in the book department? You got a couple.
So yeah. So next week is a good week for people who are fans of fantasy novels. First up is Marina Lostetter, The Teeth of Dawn, which is the third book in her horror-tinged epic fantasy trilogy, The Five Penalties.
Her name looks like Marina Lobster, by the way.
I've made that joke before, yes. And I haven't read any books in this series, but I've read other books of hers, and they're really, really good. So I'm very excited. Like I said, this is the third book of 3, and that interview is going to be on Monday. And then on Tuesday, and I'm going to probably butcher his name, but hopefully he'll forgive me, Toby Oganduran has the second book in his Guardians of Gods duology called On the Fount of Creation, which he describes as, I'm going to quote him here, secondary world fantasy story with elements of mythology and cosmology. And the thing is, like, Marina's book is very much like in the realm of Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, and a lot of Western fantasy. Toby's book is much more influenced by African, Yoruba, stuff like that. So it's a very different. He's a very different writer than her, much more rooted in his African heritage, but no less interesting a writer. So so that's early next week, and maybe some other stuff. We'll see.
And plus, fount is just a cool word. Like, I want to tell someone.
I felt like I saw that. I was like, did he mean to say fountain? But like,
nope, that's a word.
I'm gonna kick you in the fount.
Yeah, you watch your mouth.
To me. Yeah. So Mac, I was going on the Turtle Beach site, and I had a question about one of your products, the Victrix KO leverless controller.
Yeah, the new leverless fight stick.
Yeah, like how does a leverless fight stick even work? It looks cool.
It's huge. Like you put it on your lap.
It's like 3 pounds.
Yeah, it's it's big. I mean, this is what the hardcore fight stick community folks, they're playing with the what's funny is the one that has the levers is actually slightly bigger. But the new leverless one is just, leverless, thinner, excuse me, latest tech in terms of buttons and switches and things like that. But
and you can rearrange the buttons to like
fully customizable. You can move the button locations. You can actually, program what all the buttons do.
And you can change the switches, which I think is awesome because it comes with Cherry MX Reds.
It does, and then if you're a fan of something else, that then you can swap those out for your preference.
Like this is totally not practical, but for keyboards, I like Cherry Blues just because they're loud and clicky.
Right, because you want everybody to hear everything you're doing.
Exactly, but not appropriate for gaming. Really, it doesn't have the right response for gaming. No. But it would be loud as hell. I would love to hear that. And plus, I
want to be like, "Hey, where's Raymond playing right now?" And be like, "Hold on, listen."
Just hear him. Not even. I mean, it looks awesome. I'm really curious, like to do like a fireball with that. I'm curious to see how that works, but also I want one I want to like stand in front of a brick wall and just stare.
You want to look cool holding one casually?
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
that would be cool. Check out this product. Go to the Turtle Beach website. It looks awesome. A link to Paul's website and Mac's website. They are in the product descriptions below for your convenience. I left Paul's banner on. Oops.
Hey, Mac, I have a question about that.
Yes.
Do
Not
you guys
this time?
shut up? Do you get a lot of people saying that they don't buy them for fighting games, but they actually buy them for like old school arcade games? Because that's the first thing I used to think
like the audience predominantly is like the fighting game community. And I mean, look at those are the folks specifically who are looking for a leverless option for a fight pad like that. So that's why we did it. So that's the core. But yeah, like they work across the board for again whatever other flavors you might want to like have that kind of a setup for.
See, in my head, like for some reason, Stevie Wonder is using a leverless fight stick and like kicking ass with it. he's on Street Fighter, just like
I think
everyone.
I think you just came up with our next creative.
Are you blind but want to kick ass in Street Fighter? Oh, that's a terrible. Scratch that. I think I just canceled myself. So
there was just
bad ideas. 99 bad ideas to get to one great one.
Yes.
There was just a thing on NBC. It was like a documentary that Questlove made about the music in Saturday Night Live.
I watched it. It's excellent. Highly recommended.
But your comments reminded me because they talked a little bit about the commercial that they did with Stevie Wonder and the camera. And the tagline was so simple, even Stevie Wonder can use it.
He's like taking pictures of shoulders and shit. Yeah. But he looked so happy. He was basically like that. He's smiling. Really good. But that documentary is really fantastic. And I love that. Like I'm such a fan of the show. I've read a lot of books about the history. And I was so happy that they included Billy Preston because he was the first musical guest on the very first episode. And I'm a big Billy Preston fan too. So that was a great tangent. I love that. Watch that. That is on Peacock, I believe. Yes.
Yes.
So we're talking about our 3 most anticipated shows of the year. Let's go clockwise. Paul, why don't you kick us off with Marvel Zombies?
Oh, I was waiting for you. I thought you were going to put something up. Okay. Yes, Marvel Zombies. Which is going to be out in October, which for people who don't know is, I guess technically you'd call it a spin-off of What If. And it's also based on some Marvel comics. I don't know what they're doing in this spin-off show. I mean, obviously there's Marvel characters are zombies. I don't know how it's going to, I assume that it's connecting to the What If show, but I don't know for sure. What I do know, and I'm very excited about, is that Ms. Marvel is going to be in it, voiced by Iman Vellani, which is always a good thing. Yes. And she apparently said something which I don't really know what it means, but it sounds cool, where she is the Frodo of the story.
Huh.
I don't really know what to make of that, but I'm like, okay.
I'd say like main character, main adventure, like the story.
I don't know. All I know is that's what she said, and that she said that got her very, very excited. She was excited anyway. But
you just slipped into that. That's what she said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unintentional.
But yeah, I mean, the Marvel Zombies episode that they did in, I think it was season 1 and season 2, were both really, really good. And I like the comics, and I like zombies and Ms. Marvel, and so I'm excited for that one. So I don't think we haven't seen like a trailer or anything for it yet, but I think it'll be in the same art style as the other one. So that's going to be interesting.
And What If is traditionally in December. Do you think they'll do it then, or maybe it'll be a Halloween?
I think they said it's October, so I think they're shooting for I mean, that's kind of the horror month. So
yeah,
although people do horror movies and TV shows all the time, but still, that's like.
Oh God, I still remember this freelance writer we all know sent me a Halloween article on like November 3rd. Like,
Oh, I remember that.
Quick tangent, by the way. Speaking of Nazis and zombies now, did you ever get around to watching that movie that I suggested a couple weeks back, which is Overlord, which seems to have like fallen off everybody's radar?
No.
Yeah, it stars like Wyatt Russell.
I remember you mentioning it, but
yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. Like if you're in a I need to add another one to watch some Nazis get their shit handed to them, like it's a good one.
Fair enough. Now I'm going to go with my number 3 pick, which comes out at the end of the year. It is Wonder Man on Disney Plus.
I never heard of this until you put it in an email the other day.
Yeah, this one is kind of flying under the radar. I think it's off a lot of people's radar, but I love the Wonder Man character. And I love that they're doing 2 versions of his silly costume in one. He has that red coat, which was a double-breasted coat, which I thought was unusual for a superhero. But he also has this sleeveless getup under it. He is being played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen, who was excellent in the Watchmen series. He was something else that wasn't quite as good, but he was in Aquaman. He was Manta.
I was gonna say,
yeah, which not a fan of those movies, but I loved him in Watchmen.
I like Aquaman.
The series is being directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, who directed the Shang-Chi movie, which I am also a big fan of. And he is bringing back Gandhi. Ben Kingsley is coming back playing Trevor Slattery. So for those people who are not familiar with the Wonder Man comics, there was a point in Wonder Man's life where he actually went to LA to become an actor, but he couldn't, like the studios wouldn't take him seriously because they thought of him as a superhero. So they kept trying to give him like stupid action roles, but he really wanted to be a dramatic actor. Now the series is playing from the trailer. It's still hard to tell. It looks like it's being meta with it, where the character Simon Williams is auditioning to play a superhero named Wonder Man, and Trevor Slattery is like coaching him through his career. And fantastic actor and character. I would watch anything Trevor Slattery is in, but also I love what Destin did with Shang-Chi. So I'm excited for the Wonder Man series coming out in December. Now, Mac, let's go with your number 3 pick. On the other side of the superhero stream, we got Peacemaker season 2 coming out in August.
I'm looking for it. I feel like Peacemaker was one of those series where I had such a good time during it, and I now am reminding myself that I owe myself to go back and rewatch it again to get ready for the next season coming, because I have a decent memory of what happens throughout the series, but I just remember, man, it was funny throughout, and just John Cena does such a good job of just consistently delivering of that character, right? So I'm again, it's like things that I'm like, oh man, I hope I'm still alive when this happens. I want to see the next season of Peacemaker.
And I'm looking forward to more Vigilante as well. I loved his character. That whole cast was just a lot of fun.
Everything about that show, everything they introduced, even last minute, was still like #worth it, right? Like it was still good.
And Cena is so good at comedy. I love when
he really is. He's like I feel like I kind of have to put him in the same category as I have like The Rock, where like whatever he does is just still watchable.
I don't like him serious. Like when he tries to be a badass, it doesn't always work for me.
It doesn't land.
Well, he has that his face as he's gotten older, his face looks more and more like Droopy Dog from what cartoon series is Droopy Dog?
I forget, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
But yeah, he like his jowls and he's drooping. He's starting to look like that. But when he does comedy, especially when they let him improv, like he did a lot of improv in that Amy Schumer movie. I thought he was great in that. Like I love when he's goofy and he's not afraid to make fun of himself, which was absolutely
Peacemaker.
I mean, he's wearing tidy whities in
Yeah,
like half of episode 1. Yeah. So, but yeah,
it's again, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that. So
it'll become an interesting time because the series is after Superman. So for many people, this will be the second helping of the new DC universe, assuming they haven't watched Creature Commandos.
when is it supposed to start? Do you know?
August.
Oh, it's August.
So right after Superman's in July, and they're going to have Rick Flag playing a small role in that, which will be a bigger role in Peacemaker.
Rick Flag Senior or Rick Flag
Junior?
Oh.
No, Senior, because Junior's dead. Yes.
Right.
Yes. Played by Frank Grillo. Let us move on to our number 2 picks. Shockingly, Paul picked a Star Trek series.
I know, and I'm even wearing the shirt.
On the heels of that train wreck that you were complaining with, what was the movie that just came out?
Oh, Section 31. Yeah, that was just a mess. I'm a surprisingly bad mess, actually. Like considering all the people involved and whatnot. Like, I don't know, but because originally that was going to be a TV show, and I think they just it's almost like they gave up and just sort of made it into a movie. I don't even know. Michelle Yeoh deserves way better than that.
Right.
But Strange New Worlds season 3 is coming out. For people
I like
who
that show. I watched the first season.
Yeah, it's really, really good. For people who haven't watched it, if you remember in the very original Captain Kirk Star Trek show, there was this really weird episode where they watched like movies of like a different captain of the Enterprise named Pike, and like he's normally like in like a weird wheelchair and he's all like mangled, but then the videos of like him when he's walking around talking to these guys with like the big brain heads. That was actually the original pilot of Star Trek. Strange New Worlds is basically what that show kind of would have been, because it shows what it was like when Captain Pike was the captain of the Enterprise, and like all the characters they brought up. Well, they couldn't bring them back because they're from the 60s.
Is that where the Captain Pike in the newer generation movies comes from? Is that where that character is derived from?
That's where he's derived from the original episode / pilot of the original Star Trek. Okay. He's not derived from this show, because all that stuff actually predates Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, played by Black Bolt, right?
Yes, Anson Mount, who I never really thought much of until like he did this, and this is like a really good role from him. He seems to have a really good time. There's a really good cast in the show, and the cool thing is, unlike Star Trek Discovery, where they kind of had like a big story that they would lay out over 10 episodes, this is much more like the original show in the sense that it goes back to like the monster of the week, different planet kind of thing. And it's just it's a lot of fun. They've done some like really goofy things. They did this episode last season that was totally hilarious, where there's also a Star Trek animated show called Lower Decks. Yeah. And they did a thing where 2 of the characters from Lower Decks walked through a portal and not only went back in time, but became live action and turned up on the Enterprise.
Oh wow! I mean, which two did they bring over? Was it Eugene?
That's funny.
No, it wasn't Eugene. It was Jack Quaid and Mariner. I don't remember the
Star Trek multiverse.
Name. Yeah. And it's funny because Lower Decks is set during the time of the Next Generation, so you're talking about like 100 years later, and like there was just all these really funny like in jokes and whatnot, and like it was just that's the kind of thing. Like they did a musical episode last season.
Star Trek has enough like content to do like its own version of like What If and all the like feels like it's like following a very similar kind of Disney-esque path.
Yeah, but like they last season they did like a musical, this weird musical episode where like they got some kind of like infection and they kept breaking out into song.
I did remember. I read about that.
Wasn't Carol Kane in last season?
Carol Kane was in last season. She's going to be in this one as well.
Love that.
Rebecca Romaine plays number 1 on the show, and she's really, really good. And just the cast is really, really good all around. The new guy that plays Spock is really good. they even have like a guy playing Captain Kirk, and they've done all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'm very excited for this season. They've only released a little teaser where a bunch of the characters become Vulcans for a while, and but something goes wrong, of course, because
Yes, nothing.
If everything went right, you wouldn't have a TV show. So, yeah. So, and that they haven't said when that's going to be out, but it should be pretty soon, I would think.
Or maybe they'll give it some breathing.
I need to go renew my subscription to Paramount Plus so I can go back and watch some of the stuff. Although they do have some pretty good free trials going right now.
Yeah, well, Star Trek Discovery is really good. Strange New Worlds is really good. Lower Decks started a little iffy and got really good. There was also a show called Star Trek Prodigy that was really, really good, but I don't think it's on there anymore because there was some weirdness and half of it's on Netflix. So
Paramount Plus has some good stuff. I have to sub because I watch football, so they have Champions League.
Oh yeah,
so that is on there. The Halo series is on there, right? Is that Paramount Plus?
But that already got canceled. So
yeah,
it was still good to watch though. It was still like I enjoyed it.
And so moving on to my number 2 pick. This one,
number 2.
I feel guilty that I'm still including it on my list because there is controversy surrounding the author, Neil Gaiman.
Oh yeah.
It's hard. He has several issues. Sexual assaults allegations. And it just looks bad, the things that he's alleged to have done. But Sandman is one of my favorite comic books, particularly the Seasons of Mist storyline, which will be covered in Sandman Season 2. So for those not familiar with the comics, Sandman is the Lord of Dreams. And
I watched most of the first season of this.
I
thought it was neat.
Yeah, it's neat. It gets a little weird, but what Season of Mist
was definitely out there.
Season of Mist was just really intriguing for me as a kid. Basically, the story is Lucifer gets tired of running hell. He's just tired of torturing souls because God told him
you just
to.
Feel like you feel, right?
Yeah. So he goes to the dream realm and he gives Dream Sandman the key to hell and says, do what you will with it. And so all these gods from these other pantheons, like Thor comes from the Norse gods. You have Lords of Order, Lords of Chaos, Egyptian gods. They all come, demanding the key to hell for their use. So it's just a really interesting concept, especially for someone that was raised Catholic, like most Filipinos. So this was really trippy and heady for me. But I still feel guilty because it is Neil Gaiman and he has probably done some horrible things, but that does not change the fact that Season of Mists was one of my favorite comics growing up. And I'm excited to see how they do in live action.
I'm excited for it too, but I'm also with you about the whole, the Neil Gaiman thing just irks me to no end because he's such a creative, inventive writer, and I've loved a lot of his books. And
Never Meet Your Heroes.
Yeah, I mean,
these women did, and it was horrible for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is like a weird thing. Like, what do you do in cases like this, especially something like this where, it's based on his books, and he was involved in season 1, but there's so many other people that are involved in it as well.
You're allowed to like it. It's not like you have to shut it out.
Yeah.
Right. But there's some things like I have a hard time listening to Michael Jackson music.
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't do that either anymore.
And it's hard. Where do you separate the art from the artist? Like Michael Jackson was easy for me to delete from my iTunes.
I think it's like if the association in your mind is like that, is strong enough to make you no longer enjoy the creative, then you turn it off, right? If you find yourself, if you go watch whatever and you're like, fuck, I can't stop thinking about this. It's this is all levels of ick. You don't go back,
Yeah,
But
I always
to
say,
Paul's point that there's so many people that work on a show
right.
like Sandman,
Mhm.
that's a trickier case.
Yeah, I mean,
Me.
my thing is like I think it's good to take a moral stand usually. But
Right.
when it comes to something like this, I kind of feel like you have to go with how it feels. You know,
Right.
if you can watch Sandman and it not bother you, fine. If you can't watch Sandman because it bothers you,
Also
fine.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing for me is just don't deny it. Don't sit there and be like, oh no, 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 no.
Right.
Neil Gaiman didn't do anything, or Michael Jackson didn't do
Right.
anything
Don't
wrong,
make a
or
defense.
Kevin Spacey didn't do anything wrong. Like that, or R. Kelly or whoever, you know. And the fact of the matter is there's lots of really great artists that have done terrible things. Like I always think about Miles Davis. And you
Right.
also, I think, also have to look at it in context. Like the reason I bring up Miles Davis is he abused one of his wives. He did so, however, in the throes of a heroin addiction. He felt terrible about it. He owned it. He apologized for it. He's also not around anymore. And he didn't write songs like Pretty Young Thing, although I think he did cover that song, weirdly enough. But he didn't write songs about, his wife and, smacking her around. He wrote instrumental music. So, where do you draw the line? And again, like I said, I think it goes back to what can you and can you not feel with it?
Great question for the audience. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Where do you draw the line between art and artist? And
Are you guys following, speaking of the inappropriate whatever stuff, you guys following the whole Blake Lively, Steve Baldoni, who done it, who's in the wrong, what does the video
against my will? Like I kind of wish I never heard of either of them.
Yeah.
like I know she's famous and beautiful, but I can't
Mhm.
name you a thing she was in that I enjoyed.
My younger daughter is like power binge watching Gossip Girl, ironically. So like I can't get away from Blake Lively all of a sudden. And then she's also always in the news now. But it's just every day there's a new piece of the story that comes up, and you're like, oh,
right.
But
And I wish I didn't. I wish I knew less about it.
yeah,
how I feel.
agreed. I feel like that would be the best solution for everybody.
And she reminds me of that piece of shit Green Lantern movie.
No,
so I'm going to take you on a tangent. So I was in this car with a group of friends, one of whom has a massive Michael Jackson tattoo on her back, and she was going off on Colin Kaepernick. She's like, that guy's wrong. He's disrespecting the police by kneeling. And then I was like, bitch, please, you have a tattoo of a guy that allegedly banged kids on your back, and you're going off this man protesting police violence. So
get down off your horse a tiny bit.
A little bit, yes. So the last number 2 pick goes to you, Mac, and we're still in the comics realm.
Yeah, all of my picks ended up in the comics at this point. But Invincible,
yes,
next season, eagerly. That's coming up. It's like right around the corner too.
That's right.
I am very excited about this, and
Me
so
too.
is my older daughter.
Because now, right about now in the comics is when they start getting like weird, and I love it.
Like good weird, right?
Good weird.
Yeah. Okay.
It gets. I mean, it's gotten a little weird with his dad banging an insect.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious, though. The most intriguing character to me, which I want them to figure out more of, is Donald. Not who you immediately think of, but Donald from the show.
No, he's a great character and great. I mean, there's great actors up and down this cast. So,
oh yeah,
this cast is absolutely stacked. I mean, Paul and I are big fans of Gillian Jacobs. So,
yeah.
Speaking of which, it's funny because I was telling you the other day, tangent wise, I started watching the Harley Quinn show on HBO, and my wife doesn't typically like cartoons aren't her thing. It doesn't matter if it's like adulty or not. Like she's just animated, doesn't do it for her. So like normally any of the cartoonish shows that I'm watching, like she's not participating. But the other day I was watching the Harley Quinn stuff, and like I caught her, like she totally was just like standing in the doorway watching, and she watched about a half of an episode from afar, and then just like, oh no, it was different than I thought it was gonna be, and like it was like in a good way, complimentary way. So I just thought it was neat.
I love this week's episode. I mean, there's not a lot of cartoons with cunnilingus in it, so I mean, that's different right there.
Well, there are. They just don't show them on HBO Max.
Okay, that is very true too. But one of the things I'm looking forward to is we get to see Invincible's blue costume for the first time in season 3. That should be exciting.
Is there a story that goes behind that?
There's a reason. There are reasons for it, and they make sense. Looking forward to seeing how far along they go with his brother, who is a very interesting character.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I mean, there's a lot of points. They followed a lot of the comics pretty closely in the first 2 seasons, but they've also done things that are kind of their own. So I'm kind of curious to see how it splits.
Right, what they do with this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all about this show. I love the comics and I love the animated series. The cast is just silly, like Sandra Oh, J.K. Simmons, Stephen Young, and even the minor characters. Like you have Jason Mantzoukas, who I love from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
He's great.
Spock is in it as well.
What's his name?
Zachary
Quinto.
Zach Morris says things get good in the blue suit in the comics. Yes.
So basically you're telling me if I want to get a jump, I should just go read the comic.
I think the comics are worth reading anyway.
I never got around to it.
I don't know how much you want to spoiler yourself though. I mean,
I don't care. I think that'd be great. If I read it in the comic book first, then even better.
Fair enough. But yeah, that super excited for that. That is, I believe it's early February. So that's
like I said, it's right around the corner. It's coming soon.
Very cool. Now we are going to get to our number 1 picks, but I just wanted to remind you guys that I am giving away 3 Steam codes this month on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/RPadTV. There's also a direct link in the YouTube and Facebook descriptions. Find this post that says January 2025 Steam code giveaway and leave a comment on this post. You don't have to pay anything. Registration is free. Although if you do have a premium membership, you get more chances to win this contest and other contests that I'll be doing this year.
Are Paul and I allowed to enter?
No. Now back to our show. I just like saying that. I didn't go anywhere. None of us went anywhere. Yes, February 6th. Thank you, Carlos.
Ooh,
that is going to be excellent. So now we're going to talk about the shows that we are most excited for, kicking off with Paul, who is taking us to a galaxy far, far away.
Yes. Star Wars Visions, which for anybody who did not watch it is an animated anthology series in which they got different directors and studios to do their own sort of Star Wars quote unquote shorts. I say it that way because they're not like 3 minutes or 5 minutes. They're usually like 18 to half an hour long.
Okay, so it's an episode.
Yeah, and they're non-canonical, so they can do whatever they want.
I think most of them are like between 10 and 15, though. If I'm not mistaken.
Well, there's some of them that are a little longer, but there's none that are like 3 minutes long or 5 minutes long or anything like that. And the cool thing is they actually encourage people to put their own spin on Star Wars. Like they don't want you to do just like, a normal sort of Star Wars animated thing. Like they want you to put your own, what makes you unique and your culture unique. And the first season, for example, was all like anime people. So it was like Production IG, who did Ghost in the Shell, and Science Saru, who recently did the Scott Pilgrim cartoon. And then in the second season, they kind of expanded it. So they got like Ireland's Cartoon Saloon and Triggerfish, who are out of South Africa. And they even got Aardman, the British studio that does Wallace and Gromit, to do one.
Right.
Which is cool. And then this time around, it seems like they're going back to the anime thing, but not entirely, because Production IG are doing another one, as is Wit Studio and Polygon Pictures, who actually, to go back to something we mentioned earlier, are doing the animation on Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So most of them, every once in a while there's like a little clunker, and it's definitely very much in the vein of what, it's not in the vein of What If, in the sense of like, oh, what would it be like if R2D2 was a protocol droid or something like that.
It feels like what they greenlit however many years ago with Seth Green and with Robot Chicken, and then again with Seth, what's his name, for Family Guy, allowing them to do like their iteration of a Star Wars thing. It sounds like this is a collection of those.
No,
but like not necessarily like each one of those kind of followed specifically like the story that we're all familiar with. It's just like, a certain group has a,
right. Well,
Right.
I've seen I've seen a little bit of the Seth Green stuff that was leaked, and it was very much in the spirit of Robot Chicken, but it was not like parody the way Family Guy was, like parodies, basically, like parodies of the first three things.
Mm-hmm.
These are very, very different. Like one of the ones in the first season was about like a Ronin who runs afoul of the emperor, like the empire, and has to defend a village. And then it's more like, like the Irish guys, like it's like, okay, what would an Irish Star Wars story be? But you're not beholden to anything that happened. So we
may very well get the backstory to the pirate werewolf from what was the new show?
Oh,
that we hated.
All of us hated it.
Skeleton Crew, like the pirate, like the pirate werewolf. We could very well have somebody creating a half-hour backstory for what that character is and where he's from and why he exists.
Yeah, except that, like, as I said, none of it is canon. So,
sure,
like,
okay,
it's much more likely that, like, they would make something up, like, what would it be like if there was a Scottish village and, like, a Sith showed up and, like, people were farming with a droid and things like that. I mean, sometimes they do use like established characters, like there was one they did with Ahsoka early on,
right?
But a lot of times they just make up stuff.
Yeah, I kind of like the secrets. It sounds a little bit like Secret Level. It sounds a little bit like all these kind of variety gaming shows that are coming.
Kinda.
Like similar in design,
except that, as I said, it's not parody. They don't do parodies. They don't.
Yeah,
I mean, Aardman's thing was a little funny. Yeah, like it's they're not. It's not like What If, where it's like, what if Rey wasn't the granddaughter of the Emperor or whatever.
So right. Carlos says they think of Visions as Elseworlds, which is a DC thing, or different interpretations of Star Wars. That makes sense.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So, I mean, especially the Elseworlds where it was like, what would it be like if Batman was in the 1800s and chasing after, Jack the Ripper?
So this logo is from season 1, and the logo from season 2 was red, and there was more Sith-focused stories on
now that. We're going to get an orange logo.
Yeah, I'm like, well, are they doing a theme for this season?
Is it worth me going back and watching the first 2 seasons of Visions?
I think so.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, if you like animated, what it actually reminds me of, and I don't know why I didn't think of this before, is did you ever see Love, Sex, and Robots?
Yes.
It's like that, but with Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
And so even if you watch one episode and you're like, go to the next one
because it's not related and it's standalone.
No, they're not related. There's no. It's not. Yeah. It's not like with What If, where there was like an overarching story.
Right.
Like it's almost like It's Love, Sex, and Robots is a good example because I
like that show. That was good.
Yeah, because like every episode was something different, and the art style is different, the writing is different, the voices are different.
You had me at love.
Although, depending on where you are with catching up on Harley Quinn, I would prioritize Harley first.
Oh yeah,
it's freaking hilarious, and plus we'll need you for the review in March.
Okay, well I'm literally just about wrapped up with season 1.
Excellent. So my number one pick is not in a galaxy far, far away, but it is in the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood of New York, which they now call Clinton for some reason. It is Daredevil Born Again. I am so excited for this series because of the twists and turns it took. It was basically scrapped because it was not really going to, even though it has Charlie Cox, originally it was not going to be a direct continuation of the Netflix Daredevil shows. But then something changed, and now it is a direct continuation of the Netflix Daredevil shows.
Got the yellow suit.
Well, he has no suit for a lot of it. He had the yellow suit in She-Hulk.
He's naked?
No, he's wearing that black outfit. They brought back Karen and Foggy, who are great characters. Great.
Are we gonna get more Foggy?
Hope so.
He's the comic book.
Wouldn't mind seeing more Elektra. We're gonna have a little Punisher in this, but of course, it is Daredevil and Kingpin center stage. One of the reasons I'm looking forward to is that the bad in this series is a character named Muse, who is one of the most fucked up characters I've ever read in comics. And I don't know how they adapt him to TV without, I don't know. He does some things that just would make normal people physically ill. Like he murders a bunch of people and he uses their blood to paint a mural. He considers himself an artist first and foremost. But he's just really deranged and messed up. And I really hope they keep him deranged and messed up
they keep
for the show. Dark. Yeah. I mean, the showrunners have said that this will be by far the darkest thing that they've done on Disney Plus. They made the comparison to the Penguin being dark and gritty for DC. They said this will be even more so. So I hope that's true, because Daredevil is a dark, gritty, and violent character. Some of those fight scenes in the Netflix show, they were just brutal and bone crunching, and you can feel everything. But I'm excited to see where this all returns. If they bring back more characters, we have Punisher, but I would love to see Luke Cage. In the trailer, they had an ad for his club in Harlem, so maybe he's there. Some people have teased Jessica Jones coming back. I love Kristen Ritter's version of that character. I don't really want to see Iron Fist. But
well, he wasn't Iron Fist at the end of the show.
That's right. Jessica Hennick was.
Yeah.
I'd love to see her. I'm all about more Jessica Hennick anytime.
And Misty Knight.
Right. Robot arm now.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah. Zach Morris says, so many compound fractures in the Netflix series. Yes. They kept the hospitals in New York very much employed. Carlos, I will share your picks after Mac wraps his up, but you'll also be doing some honorable mentions at the end. Mac's number one is also staying in the world of comics. What do you got, Mac? Yes.
Next season of Gen V. So it's, again, I think anything to do with the world of the boys and what's going to kind of help move the needle of the story a little bit further, piece at a time, is just I feel the same way about that as I do about like Peacemaker, and just shows that were like immensely entertaining, that had you like wanting and waiting to come back to see the following episode to see what happens. And then I am curious to see what they do with the one character who the actor passed away at the very end of the last season on a motorcycle, like right after the first season filmed.
Right. Andre, he was one of the leads.
Yeah.
So, like they had to retool shooting to go around that. I mean, you lost one of your major characters.
So I'll be curious to see how they deal with that.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. They showed two of the characters at the last episode of The Boys last season. So they had Maddie Phillips. What is her character's name? Kate. She plays Kate, and they had the dude Sam. So they
That's
had
right. The guy who sees all the fucked up dolls, right?
Yes. So they had them helping round up the boys at the end of the boys last season. I'm excited. I was a big fan of Gen V. Love the cast. It had like the violence and humor of the boys, but in a college drama setting. So I love the feel of that. And it was also like it started really messed up. They had some interesting take on how shall I say this delicately? Interesting take on sounding in the first episode of Gen V season 1. If you don't know what sounding is, look it up, and I apologize in advance.
I'm going right now. Like,
oh no, oh no, that'll be really bad. The cast of Gen V as we knew them in season 1.
No thanks.
Yes.
All right.
So guys,
yeah, anyways, that's another one that's up there for me.
As well it should be. Super excited for that. Guys, we want to know what shows you're excited about. Zach Morris, let me know what you think of Severance so far.
Man, Severance is so hard to watch to me.
Really? Oh,
it's too much to pay attention to.
I have to be in a certain mood because it is a show you have to pay attention to. It is really heady. But I thought it was so fantastic and unique. Carlos's top 3 are Daredevil, Last of Us, and Andor. I do want to talk a bit about Andor later. That's the one I feel guilty about leaving off my list.
Same here.
How about you, Paul? Is there anything you feel bad about leaving off?
John Oliver.
Yeah, but he does it every year. So.
Yeah, but that's one I'm really looking forward to. Also, the Wednesday show, I don't know whether that's this year or not. I think so, because I think they finished filming it. But I really liked season 1.
I will say my new current addiction is the TV show On Call, which is the police show that's filmed wholeheartedly all over my hometown, Long Beach. And every scene in the show is like, I've been there. I recognize exactly where they are. It's really funny to sit there and like and it's not just like shot in Long Beach. Like the whole show is predicated. The show's storyline is predicated in literally in Long Beach. So it's an interesting show for me.
Okay, let me ask you a question though. I'm wondering if you ever get this thing that I used to get when I watched Entourage, where it would sometimes take me out of it because I would be like, "Oh, I know where they are."
Yes.
Wait, they're going there, but there was literally an episode where they were driving
like different, and it's not like right there. It's like, oh, they jumped at least like 4 city blocks between but they're trying to show it as like one location.
Yeah, or like there was an episode. I remember this was Entourage where like they were going from Hollywood to Los Feliz, and one shot they were driving down the PCH, and I'm like,
no,
you literally they were in the middle of the city. They were going to the most eastern part, but instead they took a highway all along the west coast. Like it was like, no, forget it.
I've seen a couple of those, and like again, it's distracting, but not to the point where I don't find myself enjoying the show for what it is. Right. It's a well done show. It's like well acted, well written. It's interesting to see. Like I said, just every location. Like there's a good % chance that at some shoot there you'll see me running in the background somewhere. Like because it's just everywhere that you typically kind of go in Long Beach.
So, Paul, Wednesday season 2 is out this year, but no release date yet. Interesting rumor from that cast. Emma Myers, who plays the werewolf girl, her roommate in Wednesday, she is rumored to be in the running to be Spider-Gwen in live action. What?
Ooh,
That's
I like
interesting.
that.
Yeah, I think she's
because I like her.
Yeah,
She's super cool.
Yeah,
yeah, I could see that.
yeah. She has the right demeanor for it.
And it's interesting that they would do her as Spider-Gwen as opposed to bringing back one of the Gwen Stacy's from before.
Didn't they kill Gwen Stacy before?
They killed.
Well,
yes.
they did, but we don't know what happened after Spider-Man went back to his own. Oh no, they would have still been dead.
Right, but they're also like all those actors are in like their late 30s, early 40s now, right? Like,
right.
So you
It's
need
sad that we're older than that now.
Well, I mean, I think it'd be really tough to get either Kirsten Dunst or not Kirsten Dunst, Emma Stone or Ron Howard's kid to do it.
Right.
Anyway, and Emma's, I mean, just from a financial standpoint, she's probably a lot cheaper. So
yes.
Who's Ron Howard's kid?
She directs The Mandalorian sometimes.
Oh God, what is her damn name?
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard, yeah.
Okay.
So Zach Morris says, really loving the new season so far of Severance. I'm pretty sure they're already in hell. Interesting. Dante's Inferno type stuff. That is interesting. Carlos, yes, he has chided Bryce Dallas Howard.
Although now that I said that, I don't think she did play Gwen. I think that was Kirsten Dunst.
No, Kirsten was MJ.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, you're right. You're right. Yeah, because they always botch the casting of those female characters in those movies. Everybody was the opposite. So anyway,
I interviewed Kirsten for when Activision had the Spider-Man games.
Mm-hmm. I forgot we had those.
Zach Moore says,
fun to work on.
Also love the cinematography in Severance this season. They have 3 or 4 really technical sequences so far in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, Severance is. I've given it 2 like good efforts and have found myself walking away and not like immediately feeling the desire to go back.
It is a substantive show, and you for me at least, you have to be in the right mindset to watch it, which sounds strange.
No,
but like it's right. Not a light and silly show.
No, it's deep.
Yeah. So anything else on your list that didn't make the cut? I mean, Andor is really the big one for me. I was such a fan of season 1. I still think quality-wise of the Disney Plus Star Wars shows, I think Andor is the best one.
Yeah, Andor, more Harley
not my
Quinn
favorite.
For me.
Harley, yeah.
I got more seasons of that to catch up on.
I'm hoping somebody aside. I think Carlos is watching Mythic Quest, but I'm enjoying.
I gave up on that one a long time ago.
Just funny, especially if you worked in games and you see the archetypes that they're trying to, they're trying to put like 5 marketing people into one character, and I get it, Same with the
other Apple TV show with Harrison Ford and
Shrinking.
Shrinking, the season 2 of that. If you haven't watched that
also
yet,
very good. Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, again, let us know what shows you're looking forward to. Next week, we may or may not be off. I'm still trying to con someone into doing a Valentine's Day episode. The week after, I'm trying to con Paul into watching Love Hurts with Ki-hee Kwan so we can talk about that. But I'm excited. There's so much awesome content coming out.
Well, I have a whole bunch of shit I gotta go get caught up on even after this episode. So Star Wars things from Paul. So at least 2 seasons of that. I gotta go re-get my Paramount Plus subscription to watch some more Star Trek stuff.
So well,
just don't watch that movie.
Yeah, no, that won't be happening.
I do want to watch that just because Sam Richardson's in it, and I just want to see how he does. I will pretty much watch anything he's in, even if it's not good. That's how much I like him. But anyway, We will be back soon on RPadTV. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget likes, subscribes, and all that. See you next time. Take care for now. Be good.